Hello and hello. Thank you so much for joining me today for yet another tariff reaction video. I can't help myself. I find it fascinating, and it's happening now. So I'm just going to keep reacting to this stuff as it comes in because I find it fascinating. It's also terrifying. Anyway, at some kind of EU conference. This is Robert Habeck, evidently the economic minister, which evidently is different than the finance minister, which makes sense. Anyway, I want to hear what he's got to say. Let's do it. He already said it all in German, so I skipped past that because I didn't understand it.
Reported about the way the White House and Trump came up with these calculations for these tariffs.
Oh God, the calculations. Be honest, I'm gonna relish this response because asking a German this phony ass calculation, I feel like asking a German guy this question is pretty funny because you guys are so logical, straightforward. I can already tell this is gonna be a funny response. What do you think about that bullshit calculation?
Let me ask you
formula
this and how flawed those calculations are. Let me ask you, what do you think the end game is for Donald Trump? And second, we just saw Mr. Sijarto walk right behind you, and we know that Hungary is trying to cut deals with the White House on commerce, so maybe they're not as affected as the rest of the European Union. Can you give me your thoughts on that too?
Yes, I can comment on this. First, the calculations from my point of view are nonsense. Even the basis of the calculation is nonsense. Yes, the assumption that a trade...
Sorry, I'm just really enjoying this. I'm going to take this all in just because it's perfect response.
Even the basis of the calculation is nonsense. Yes, the assumption that a trade budget surplus or deficit is a problem in itself is a wrong estimation, because in the end...
I'm laughing, but really I'm crying on the inside. Just can't see.
Globalization serves all economies, and especially the American economy.
I'm sorry, I missed a word there.
In itself is a wrong estimation, because in the end globalization serves all economies, and especially the American economy has huge growth figures in GDP, better than a lot of European countries. So you see, if we, the rest of the world, are selling cheaper goods to the American economy, it's of use of the American economy. So even the basis of the...
It makes it more efficient.
Calculation, how should I put it?
It's kind of... It's interesting because, typically the argument against us importing so much from China is that it's almost unethical because China's not the one benefiting in this equation. The Chinese people. They are working for slave wages in a lot of these Asian countries, making these products in the factories. We're kind of exploiting that by our doing so much trade. Now, of course, they're also happy to do it because they kind of got to do what they got to do for their economy. And that's what they do. But as far as how it impacts us, now that doesn't really apply to the EU. But as far as China, it's yeah, we have a trade deficit. That's not a bad thing.
American economy. So even the basis of the calculation, how should I put it, economical, philosophical basis is nonsense. And then we have seen that the countries who try to ease the conflicts beforehand with the US and hoped for a reduction of tariffs.
And I also have to say, I'm sorry to interrupt, but China is a gigantic country with 1 billion people. Why would we have nominally equal trade? At least do it per capita, in which case we probably have a surplus trade. Anyway,
who try to ease the conflicts beforehand with the US and hoped for a reduction of tariffs or being excluded from tariffs are wrong. this has not happened. So I can only say to the European partners, we have to stay united. If you try to solve the problem on your own, this will not be successful.
Yeah, I feel like that's true. From a negotiation standpoint, you're much stronger together.
Viele Vertreter der Wirtschaft sagen, wir werden überflutet mit chinesischen billigen Produkten. Was kann die EU dagegen machen?
You know, because then I can't even hear this lady, so I'm sorry for interrupting her. But if you split up, you're almost having to compete against each other for, hey, no, come on, let's make a deal. Let's make a deal with us. No, us. You know, that's not a good negotiating standpoint. You gotta stick together. It's kind of like a union, a European Union.
Mit chinesischen billigen Produkten. Was kann die EU dagegen machen?
Die Gefahr besteht, dass durch die hohen Zölle gegenüber China, die ja noch mal deutlich
Can I hear what he's saying?
höher sind als gegenüber Europa, dann chinesische Produkte auf
Music.
den europäischen oder auf andere Märkte kommen und wir dann einen starken
Music.
deflationären Druck haben, also Produkte immer günstiger
Shoot. Is the rest in German? Okay, this lady's asking a question in English, so hopefully it's responded to in English.
sollten geführt werden.
You mentioned Elon Musk. What do you think of the zero tariff idea? That in the end there should be no tariffs between the EU, US, and
Yes,
Yeah, Elon Musk did tweet that or something. The zero tariff between EU and US. It is very funny to see the lack of anything being said by Elon Musk other than this statement. He also did retweet a Milton Friedman video, basically anti-tariff. So it is funny to see that fragmentation between Elon and Musk, you know, the two lovers. It is genuinely interesting. Of course, he doesn't want tariffs. Not good for business. Even though other people, Tesla won't be affected because it's American made. Yes, they will. A lot of the material is not American made. No, maybe not as much as other auto manufacturers. Okay, let's continue.
idea. That in the end there should be no tariffs between the EU, US, and
yes, I read what Elon Musk said. I think it's a sign of weakness. And
Oh! Oh my God. Damn. That's kind of brutal considering that's what we all want. Like, yeah, zero tariff. He's like, oh, okay. All of a sudden, you're not so tough anymore.
maybe of fear, because the acting politics are completely
It's true.
different. So if he has something to say, he should go to his president and say, before we're talking about zero tariffs, let's stop the nonsense the mess you have just made in the last week. So this is ridiculous, and the only interpretation
I like this guy. Who is this guy? Robert Habeck?
I have is that he now sees that his own company
It's true. How are you going to talk about zero tariff? You're the right-hand man to the president who just implemented 20% tariff and more across the world. And you're going to talk about zero tariff.
but even the economies are going to crumble because of the mess they have made. So he's afraid.
So what is Trump's goal?
Spanien, Italien sind ja auch etwas vorsichtig, was harte Maßnahmen
This is better than I thought it would be.
angeht. Frankreich und Sie auch, Deutschland.
This is going to be in German, huh? All right. He was done. He's done. They interviewed a bunch of different politicians. You can check them out. Small and up-and-coming YouTube channel, The Independent. Link down below. That was really good. I don't even have anything else to add. That was good. That was a good one. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye.